What's going on, guys? Welcome to Sports Talk with Brodes, and this episode is going to be based on a nice Super Saturday of college hoops. Now, as you see behind me, I have a Pitt basketball shirt hanging up. Not a fan of Pitt basketball, just a fan of college hoops as one. I don't really have that die-hard fandom for any squad. I just love the sport of college basketball because it's beautiful. And today, what I got to do is something that I have not been able to do in so long, being a student athlete. I got to sit back at 12 o'clock and just watch college hoops all day. Now, right now, it is 11 p.m. There are two games going on right now. I believe it's Arizona State and Cal. There's some in the West Coast games. You got UCLA, Oregon. I'm sure there's some other small schools still going on right now. But I've had my fair share of hoops, and I will still continue to watch them right after this video with the two remaining games on TV. But it was a great day. It really was. I have the whole two TV system going out there because at one point the Flyers were on, at one point the Sixers were on, and when those two weren't on, I had two college games going, and I was flipping through all the games. It was great. It really was. And so it started off with a little Villanova UConn action, and Villanova still being ranked 1, and they got a hell of a team. And Jay Wright this year, their team is something serious. Brunson is a dog, putting up 23 points in 29 minutes. He hit 5 3-pointers in 11 attempts. And then you got their guys on their bench, like DiVincenzo. He comes off the bench, gives you 25 minutes, 17 points. He could start for any other team in the country, and he's coming off the bench. But Brunson this year is a dog. So Nova smokes UConn 81-61. Purdue doing their thing, ranked 3rd. They look great. They look phenomenal. I've watched maybe 4 or 5 games this year so far for them, and they just play with perfection. They smoke Iowa 87-64. Ohio State was in a dogfight early with Minnesota, but they pursue. They get the job done. They were down 10 early in the first half, and they keep fighting. They win 67-49. Now Texas Tech loses to Iowa State, and that's how hard this Big 12 is. Iowa State is at the bottom of the barrel in that conference right now, and they're sitting at 11-7. Texas Tech, I praise Texas Tech. I said they're a great team. They got a lot of older players, but now they fall twice in a row. They fall to a Texas team that's really nobody, and then they fall to an Iowa State team, and then they got to play some really tough games, coming down the stretch here. So that's tough for them to lose 2 straight, but it's early enough where they can figure it out. Speaking of losing, Oklahoma and Trae Young, and here comes the controversy. Trae Young, 48 points. He got 8 3-pointers in 20 attempts, 14 from 39. The dude took 39 shots. He put up 48 points. Great. That's awesome. Good for you. They lose the basketball game to Oklahoma State 83-81. And I get it. He's doing all these magician-like stuff, Steph Curry stuff, but it's got to hurt the team because he's not using his team as much as he should. He's pulling up all the time. 39 shots from the field. I can't get over that. That's crazy. It really is. And they fall again. Oklahoma ends up losing another basketball game after losing to Kansas State 87-69 a few nights ago. They follow that to an overtime loss. And they got a huge game coming up on Tuesday against Kansas, which is going to be a blockbuster on ESPN. Then you play Alabama, who is known to win some basketball games. I just can't believe it. I really can't. And something else that I totally slipped my mind that is the biggest news in college basketball that honestly doesn't even have to do with this year. It doesn't even have to do with this year. It's all about next year, and that's Zion Williamson. The next biggest thing coming out of high school basketball, and he commits to Duke on ESPN2 Live. Listen to this. Number 1, 2, and 3 in the ESPN 100 poll rankings. R.J. Barrett, number 1, commits to Duke. Zion Williamson commits to Duke. Number 3, Cam Reddish commits to Duke. 1, 2, and 3 in the ESPN 100 rankings commit to Duke. Trae Jones is their worst guy in the top 10, commits to Duke. Apparently, he's a phenomenal point guard. And he's their worst commit right now as 10th in the top 100. Duke's already written in to win the national championship last year. But what blows my mind is if this kid, if you haven't seen him yet, you got to look at his highlights. Zion Williamson. He is so athletic. He does the most ridiculous dunks. This team is so scary looking on paper. They're going to be very young. They're going to be like Kentucky is every year when they got 5 freshmen and you can tell early that they're struggling and then they find out figuring out whatever. But this is crazy. I mean, to have this kind of lineup for next year for Duke and that coach and that coaching staff, that's crazy if they figure it out. It really is. The biggest news of the night, no doubt about it, was him committing to Duke. He had offers from Clemson, South Carolina, UNC. I mean, he had all the top dogs. But going back into some more hoops, this was still in the early hour. West Virginia ends up destroying Texas, and it was kind of close at some point, but they pull away. And then you got guys like Carter, who was known to be a great defensive player, one of the best, if not the best in the country, gets 22 points, 4 assists, and he plays the game great. He really does. I love the way he defends. I respect D in basketball. You don't see that very often from people. They're always looking for the offensive ability. I love D. I love defense. Then you got into the first double-ranked matchup of the day, Xavier and Seton Hall, and Xavier ends up winning 73-64, and that was a great game. J.P. McCura gets 27 points in 35 minutes, 8 for 14 from the field. Had a huge putback dunk late to secure it for Xavier, and they win against 19th ranked Seton Hall. And I love the Big East. I know it's not the same as it used to be, and I totally get that. But something about the Big East to me, I love the teams. I love watching the games on Fox Sports 1. And I know that it's not the Big 12, and I totally get that. But you look at some of these squads, and they got some ranked teams in there. They really do. With Xavier, Seton Hall, you got Nova, you got some ranked opponents in that conference. And you know, compared to what they were, obviously people are going to hate on that, but I still think it's fantastic basketball. I really do. Clemson ends up outperforming Notre Dame late in that basketball game, and Clemson is known to be a football school. We all know that. They are making their mark being known as a basketball school now. They're playing great. I mean, they really are. They improved to 16-3. That's no joke. And I thought maybe, just maybe, that Zion Williamson was going to commit there. I really did. But they get the job done. Moving along into the later games, there were some little bit more closer games. Stanford and Arizona, the last minute possessions going back and forth, lead changes, and Arizona finds a way. A struggling Arizona squad, an Arizona team that early on, when they were ranked second in the country, fall twice, and they're finding their way. They absolutely are. They found out a way to grind this game and find a way to win. And Stanford played great. Travis, he played a phenomenal basketball game. He gets 20 points, 10 rebounds, gives himself a double-double. Humphrey on Stanford, same thing, gets 13 points, 12 boards, gives himself a double-double. And Stanford played a great basketball game. They just fell short. They fall to 11-9, but that was a great matchup. And Kansas State, coming off of an Oklahoma win a few nights ago, they beat TCU, ranked 24th in the country, 73-68. And now that's 2 back-to-back ranked W's. So what's that do for them? Wade, 20 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. They improve to 14-5 record. Will they get a rank in the upcoming week? Who knows? They fall. So they beat the ranked 24 TCU today. On Tuesday, they beat Oklahoma at home. And the game before that, in Kansas, they lose by 1 point, 73-72. And that's 3 ranked opponents in a row where they played their hearts out. They played so good. 3 games in a row against ranked opponents. Speaking of Kansas, a nail-biter against Baylor. And Baylor, late in that basketball game, actually had the lead. And Kansas almost gave it up. This would have been 3 home losses this season. 3, and that hasn't been done since 1998. But they find a way to win 70-63. Devontae Graham, 15 points. Newman, he played fantastic. At one point late when they needed it, he got 6 straight points on 3 in a row layups, beautiful layups. 24 points and 7 boards Newman had. He played phenomenal basketball. Kansas sneaks away with 1. Back and forth late, lead changes late. One of those games, every single play, you were up, you were hype. It was a great basketball game. It really was. And coming along here to the Florida-Kentucky game. I love when Jay Billis is on the call. To me, Jay Billis is college basketball. He knows exactly, everything about it. And Jay Williams and Seth Greenberg, They do a great job. I love the college basketball crew. It's great. So, what we had here at the end of the first half was a 13-3 closeout run for Florida to end the first half, and Coach Calipari was pissed. Absolutely pissed. You could see him getting heated. You could see him getting frustrated on the sideline, and what ends up happening was Kentucky was down 66-64 late. This was after they were hitting big-time threes late. 2 big-time threes, one of them by Gabriel in the corner, and it was beautiful. It was a great stroke, wide open. So 66-64, Kentucky has the ball. One play, they go up on a layup attempt, it gets blocked. It's still Kentucky's ball. They still have a couple seconds to inbound it and make a play. They do it, they go up, same exact kind of thing. They want to go to the net hard. There was an obvious foul call on Florida that they did not call, and, everyone was pissed off in the stadium. First Kentucky loss at home this season from Florida wins 66-64, and they totally escape one. They did, no doubt about it. Kentucky got boned at the end, but it's basketball. And, they probably got lucky calls in the beginning of the game, and then down late, they don't want to call fouls. But this was clearly an obvious one that they just missed. I mean, that's the truth. They missed it. And the last close game of the night goes to Tennessee and South Carolina. South Carolina, after their magical run last year, they're still hanging in there. They're 12-7. They played a great game against 21-ranked Tennessee, who's 13-5. They hung in there, no doubt about it, but just a little bit too much for Tennessee there. They win by 7 points. So that was today. That was my Super Saturday NCAA college basketball day. I'm not tired of it. I'm going to go back out into my living room and finish this Oregon game and see how they do against a UCLA squad. So, with that being said, hopefully you enjoy this. If you do, let me know. I will keep up the college hoops. I'm just a fan of everything. I really do watch everything. So, with that being said, like button, subscribe, comment if you'd like to. I read all the comments and I respond, so do not be afraid to. And thank you very much for watching. See you guys next time. Thank you very much.